Welcome, everyone, to Chirping Zebras. Mark Riley alongside Gino Binda Jr., as always, coming to you from AOA Studios in Beverly. Best place to tape anything you want to tape. And we want to thank our sponsor right off the hop, the Referees Crease, your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs. And we want to get right into it tonight because our guest tonight, very special guest, and he does have to run to do another podcast right after ours. You might hear him on EEI, the Six Rings podcast, patriots.com. And he's also a stand-up comedian. He's basically kind of like everywhere. When you look, he's there. Nick FITZY Stevens joins us on Chirping Zebras. Welcome, Nick.
Welcome. Riley, that was the best intro I've ever had in my life. You almost got through it without laughing and stumbling at the same time. You know, it was almost sort of like that was the intro version of how I expect this Patriots season to go. It's going to get clunky. We're going to get there eventually together. So let's just crack a cold Gansett and hope for the best.
I almost said you're like shit. You're everywhere.
I am like shit everywhere. I'm like taxes, assholes, and lawyers. We all know way too many of them.
Outstanding. You are everywhere. How did you end up a kid from Braintree, right? Mm-hmm. How did you end up? You're almost like an entity of itself, FITZY. How did that all come about?
How did I become like that strange mold you can't scrape off your outdoor shower on Cape Cod? Like shit, I just scraped on. It's all back again. Son of a bitch. I pulled all this crabgrass last year. What the fuck? How did I become the entertainment version of crabgrass? It's fun. You know, first of all, I am the Will Rogers of open invitations, open microphones, podcasts, and anything else where somebody will humor me, give me the time of day, and open a microphone. I've never met one I didn't like. But two, you know, Riles, if I would say anything, people ask me all the time, kids, sometimes I'll go speak at high schools or colleges, and it'd be like, you know, hey, we're doing a little pep talk or a seminar on like, you know, the age of digital content and creating your own path. How did you make all this crazy shit happen? You know, forging together broadcast and sports and TV hosting and stand-up and improv and all that together. And one I'll always say is just, you know, say yes to everything when you have an opportunity first time. You know, there is no direct path. There's no reason anybody should want to emulate what I've done, but at the same time, there is no direct path. It's very circuitous. And two, I always say, find whoever it is that you admire, figure out how hard they worked to get to where they went or how they got there, and then work harder. That's all. Like just grind. Just find be more Brady, you know, be more like, you know, I don't know, like I can't figure out who the hockey equivalent of it would be. Somebody who doesn't have 1/17 of Pasta's talent, but yet still finds a way to grind it out, make a couple.
Captain Marchand, right? Sure. There.
Yeah.
Right?
And I also have a penchant for being a pain in people's ass and licking random folks every now and again. So, you know, and how I got, you know, like radio and TV and the internet. And, you know, I got to put up with you doing your little song and dance on the Jumbotron at Gillette. You know, I guess you could probably say at times my career, it hasn't helped being like a jack of all trades, master of none, or like a human entertainment Swiss Army knife. But at the same time, that's also so maybe I'm not the world's best at any one thing, but I can do a bunch of things reasonably well, you know, like, hey, you need someone to fill in Saturday night emceeing that comedy show where it's, you know, $20 prime rib and a bunch of people that got in with walkers and wheelchairs. Hey, Riley and FITZY, they're coming at you next. Don't go anywhere.
We did that show.
Yeah, we did. Oh, we definitely did that show.
That was our first live podcast.
We did a show. I forget where was it in Dedham? I don't know. It was some VFW, GFY, AFL-CIO. I mean, we were in Heaven's waiting room with Fritos and Miller Lights together about 9 months ago, and that was a night for the ages. I'll never forget it.
It was a great show. That crowd ended up being awesome. And when we walked in, we were like, "What is going on here? This is gonna suck so bad." Mm-hmm. And those are the gigs that become incredible.
Yeah, you were hot. You were hot that night. You were a perfect guy to close. It took a while to warm him up and get him up to speed of where we were. You know, I had to update I had to dial back most of my references from the 2000s, but all my references to Falcon Crest and Bonanza killed.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we had them going, which was a blast as well. But yeah, man, the thing is, like, I kind of love doing everything. I like certain people are just born or fall into a certain something, and they love, I don't know, they love practicing law. Someone just loves being a joke writer, loves playing hockey. I kind of love doing everything. So I'm a Toys R Us kid. I have zero plans on growing up. And B, doing a little bit of everything kind of keeps it, kind of keeps things different and entertaining. I came up from a family in Braintree, as we like to call it, Weymouth with dreams, and
That's where I'm living.
South Shore Strays. Shout out South Shore, the greatest place to grow up in the world. But like my old man was a salesman, a terrible gambler, a theater producer, an actor. My mom was an actress, a weather woman, like did a whole bunch of shit in her life too. So I'm kind of like the lump sum parts of all the best and the worst of them together, with a college degree and a drinking problem.
You live in everyone's dream.
That's it. I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, I'm never going to win an EGOT. I'm not going to get an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, or a Tony, but I'm going to, forge the metaphorical equivalent for myself by having, hosted several TV shows that went one and done. I'll be fired from at least 3 different radio stations in 2 major markets, so it's fun, man. It's really like yourself, like you could just do one thing the rest of your life, do it well, and probably be very content with it. But having your feet in a lot of different fires and a lot of irons going and juggling chainsaws, I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun like that. I mean, I took a character I used to do 20 something years ago when I was coming up doing stand up in the East Village in New York City. I wasn't really like resonating. I couldn't find my voice. And so the FITZY shtick really was basically just, I decided to start doing stand-up, and as Boston was becoming more popular and Brady came around and everybody loved Affleck and Damon, I just decided to start doing stand-up under guise of the mouthiest guy who ever sat behind you in right field at Fenway, and people loved it. Yeah, people just love, like, wow, this guy is pretty smart. He's a mouthy son of a bitch, and whoa, what a sailor. But I know one of those guys. I've hung out with those guys. Those guys are fun in limited doses.
Right. And you mentioned you pick someone and you emulate them and work harder. Who was that guy for you?
Oh, there's been a ton of them. I mean, guys like I've always admired Bill Simmons, Dick Clark, I like Joel McHale, guys who do a little bit of everything that are kind of like multimedia personas as well. Growing up, I used to always tell my mom that one day I was going to take over The Price is Right. That was my dream. Or that I would have a late night talk show, or I would thank her from the Oscars. Luckily she died well before I got to disappoint her on all of those fronts. But like, I don't know. I just sort of like, I fell in love with entertainment on the whole. Like, I don't know exactly how everyone in the room's upbringing was, but like, my parents were awesome, but they were also like tragic figures. And, they were joyful, exuberant, outgoing, but kind of sad in a lot of ways because they had some tough upbringings themselves. They had a lot of dreams they missed out on. They sacrificed a shit ton for me and my brother. So I always sort of felt like, and that probably explains a lot of why some people say like, yeah, that guy's kind of a tryhard sometimes. He always wants to make people smile and laugh. Well, I kind of grew up the court jester in our little house on Faxon Street in Braintree. And that kind of carries over into relationships. And I think it's carried over into my public persona and the way I conduct myself professionally as well. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm aware of it and I'm not going to apologize for it because that's what I do.
And you're good at it.
Oh, Gino, honestly, you're the best. Really, keep talking.
Nah, seriously, like I follow everything you do. I mean, you've done like how many different types of like those what's it, fan therapies and like
yep.
half pals with my brother-in-law Mike.
Yep.
And I just love following you, listening to you talk Patriots because you have such a passion for it, and it just comes out so genuine, and you have a funny spin on sports and comedy and the whole thing, and just bring it all together. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky to grow up at a time when you didn't have to fear for being canceled or shunned or shamed for speaking outrageously. I have a depth of absurd references because my old man used to take me to the movies to see, nothing wrong with taking a 9-year-old to see Porky's or Meatballs or Hot Dog the movie. Like, it builds character, right?
Right.
Some men raise their kids by leaving him in the wilderness and saying, boy, you can't live under this roof until you fight your way back. My dad used to feel lonely when he would go see R-rated comedies and I Spit on Your Grave. So he took his son, Nico.
Yeah. It's kind of like my father. I could recite the whole Andrew Dice Clay CDs, we used to listen to those. Like, there's no filter.
No, like, filtered lives are so freaking boring. It's so difficult to conduct a 1, 2, 3, or 4 hour radio show, not use, as Mr. Spock would say, colorful metaphors, 4-letter words, naughty language, whatever. What's the old adage, Riley? Like, if you work blue, you'll never work the big rooms, kid. Fine.
Yeah.
I prefer working blue. It's much more fun. That's how real people talk. You don't sit at a hockey rink in Rockland on a Saturday morning and listen to, well, that was quite a hit. Seems we've got quite the aggressive tilt on this morning. Like, hey, fucko, you lay into my kid one more time, you'll deal with me, his mother, the brother, and the grandfather, and he's missing 3 limbs. Now let's clean this shit up.
3 limbs. It's so true. And doing comedy too. It's like, I don't know how many times you get your hands handcuffed, right? Or your words handcuffed.
Mhm.
And, people like, well, you shouldn't say that. We joke about midget, right? Because we still call hockey players midgets. There's still a division. Now they want to say U16 and U18, but fuck that. They're midgets, right? And everyone's like, oh, you can't say that. And it's like, come on, it's just ridiculous. Out of all the things you do, radio, podcasts, the internet stuff, what is your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do, my favorite gig right now is what I get to do at the stadium for home games for the Patriots. And, there's the need for what I do. While sometimes I think people are now like, hey, get this discount Mel Gibson freaking idiot Kennedy looking knucklehead off the Jumbotron and start scoring some points in the field. Let's go, Kraft. I understand that, these are weird times for us as Boston sports fans, but mostly just Pats fans on the whole. And I am and have always been football first or Pats first, Red Sox, Celtics, Bruins. No disrespect to the black and gold. That's just the way we grew up in my house as well. But I love that so much just because on a game day, I get to, meet and greet with fans, hanging out in the tailgates and, swing by over here, grab a steak tip, grab a beer. Then I make my way in the stadium, and that's just fun. And the day's already made, and it's not even 11 a.m. I go in the stadium. I do a 30-minute live talk show. It totally improvised on my feet with former Patriots players in the Optimum Lounge or the Optimum Club, whatever the fuck you call it, for a couple hundred people. And it's great. It's just, we preview the game. We tell stories. I try to put a funny spin on the day for everybody. And we set the tone, so that it softens the blow when the Patriots ultimately lose 34-0 to the Saints. Then I get to go do all the stuff, giving away stuff on the Jumbotron. And now, it's funny because me 20-something years ago only cared about like career, staying up late, networking, ripping darts, chugging beers, and just living out loud and having a little rock and roll to my life. Well, now I'm a half century into this ridiculous existence, and I got 2 kids. So I'm softening a little bit in a lot of different ways. And I'm sure there's either a pill or an injection for that, but I'm too tired to get that taken care of. So like my POV is evolving a little bit, and not to say that I've steered full into like the funny dad shit, but like when I'm at the stadium and I do these little bits for people, and then I hear kids, I used to hear like, oh, you're that guy from the Shit Pats Fans Say series. You're that guy from the Nesson TV show giving away stuff. Now, when I hear kids stop their dads and go, Dad, that's the guy on the TV doing the prize games and stuff. And the kids ask for a picture, or the dad says, hey, can I get a picture with little Gino? And I just like, not now, kid, you bother me. Like that's super fun. It's super, super, super gratifying. And if I could just do stuff like that the rest of my life, I'd die pretty damn happy.
I think it's cool because just in you telling about your day, a Sunday at Gillette, it's like, it just sounds like, fuck, I'd love to do that. It's just fun, right?
You should be the me at you should be doing what I do at Bruins games. Like they should have you. Like if the Bruins, would, and the Crafts are, and they're known for pinching a couple pennies as well. But I'm grateful for the check whenever it arrives with the laser craft signature once every 6 months. I got to remind him 3 times. Oh yeah, Jonathan, pay FITZY again. Jonathan. But like, I could see you doing something like that as well, where it's just, there's a timeout on the ice, and let's we cut to Chirping Zebras is up in the 200 300s, and you do a quick little slap and tickle with the kids, or a prize game or whatever. Like, you can create on your feet. Like we don't need other people to write for us. We don't need other people to inspire us. We've got plenty of fires still burning deep in the Sarlacc pit of our soul. Like we have points to prove, we have joy to spread, and we want to, at the end of the day, like, you've always struck me as someone who wants to have fun. Like, you want this set to go well. You want this game to be fun. You want to make sure that when you leave, people go like, God damn it, I forget that guy's name, but he was funny. I hope I see him again sometime soon. That's the same way that I try to be at and then exit from every encounter and performance I have, Riley.
That's what the officials do. Like, we don't want to be known. We want to get in and get out, and everybody go, oh, that was a well-ref game. Who did it? I don't know. Yep. Like, we don't want to be known, because if they know your name, you fucked up.
Yeah. Hey, that guy over there that looks like Adam Driver with less hair, he did a great job tonight refereeing that game. What's his name? I think it's Gino. Wait, the dancing guy from the Celtics? Yeah, I think it was him.
Well, I always joke, no one remembers names, right? You remember bits. And that's why, and I took this from Mike Hanley. My website is actually thatcomedianwasfunny.com, because they're not going to remember markrileycomedy.com. And Mike Hanley is brilliant. He does thatguywasfunny.com, I think. So what you say is true. You just want to have fun, and you want to spread that positive energy. I don't think I could do the Bruins job. They have a really hot girl doing it right now. And I doubt, knowing hockey people, I doubt I could, knock her off the pedestal. It's pretty tough to take out a hockey rocket when,
Fair enough.
Right. I know, but like you don't want to come across as like Susie, you don't want to be Susie Sidelines. Like, hey, I'm just so excited to be here. And the Boston Bruins are playing tonight against the Canadiens. And hey, what's your name? No, like, but at the same time, whatever you look like, whatever you are, like, so long as it's fun for people, like, you could look like Sophia, or you could look like Heidi Watney or Annie Agar or any of these Instagrammers, broadcaster, Melanie Collins, who I used to know years ago, who's on CBS now. Like, I don't care if you look like them or if you look like us, so long as there's a knowledge base and a deep passion for what you do, and what you say is unique and entertaining, and doesn't just sound like there's a little prompter inside your brain or you're living through your earpiece, then that's fine. I don't care. Like, it really shouldn't matter. I will say, like, my favorite thing one time. So on those Sundays, after I finish up with everything around halftime at Gillette, sometimes I'll have to go intro the halftime show live on the field, whether it's a show or it's some sort of game or engagement. Then I hop in the car and I drive to Brighton and I do the post-game show on EEI for 3 hours. So I've already gotten a feel for how the fans are engaged and reacting to the game. And then I go get to listen to it for 3 hours more. And then on Mondays, what I do is like the character 11 from Stranger Things. I just get into one of those like immersion pools in a sensory deprivation tank, and I don't talk to anybody for 24 hours because I just need to detoxify from all the sports and all the takes and all the opinions. And but there was this one time, this was great. So I was at the Raiders Patriots game in 2022, December 18th, 2022, the infamous game where Ramondre improvised. He freelanced. He threw it back to Myers. Myers threw it 35 yards diagonally back to Mac. It was intercepted by Chandler Jones. He buried Mac Jones in the into the ground. Pats lose. Holy shit. And I had taken my wife for her birthday. Great choice. So I like the presentation there at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas is just so freaking Vegas. The stadium is gorgeous. There's all these amazing fixtures and it's just beautiful. You're like in a freaking West Elm that has football and $18 Modelos. And at half, like they have a performance stage with this torch way up tall that you can see by the glass roof. And the halftime show was a 12-minute Lil Wayne concert. Like they have a legitimate A-list star who performs and does a halftime show up there. Like you're getting your money's worth. It is hot shit. The next week, it was the Patriots Bengals game that maybe 40,000 people went to. It was like 5 degrees at Gillette on Christmas Eve. And the halftime show was me sitting in an armchair in the corner by the goalpost reading a Townie Patriots version of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" with like a choir and a couple of Patriots cheerleaders. And someone called the post-game show later and they were like, "Hey, Fitzy, I saw you out there in Vegas last week. How come I went and it was like having a $500 concert that I saw in the Raiders game, and then freaking the next week, you're the halftime show sitting in a smoking jacket doing a shitty version of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas"? How far is this organization fallen?" I couldn't even take the rest of the call. I was too busy cleaning up from pissing my pants.
Like that's the benchmark.
That's excellent.
That team when
Oh,
Fitzy does the
great.
halftime show.
Yeah. The next week, they still, I don't know what happened. If Belichick just absorbed the entire budget. The next week in the farewell game, it was against Miami. It was the one time that I think, well, Belichick didn't beat Tua because Skylar Thompson had to play, but the halftime show, they came up with an idea. They were like, I don't know, we need something. I know what we'll do. We'll bring out a bunch of military veterans and local firefighters, and we'll have them play tic-tac-toe on the 50-yard line, and you'll just sort of improvise and MC it. And as I ran out in the field and I was calling it, the first 3 games all were a tie. And I could just hear fans like, "Oh, you should be paying us for this. You suck." And I literally got on the microphone and I said at one point, and I didn't get in trouble for it, I was like, "Guys, honestly, this wasn't my idea."
I always say,
You can't take credit for that.
No.
if you lose a TikTok, there is something. I mean, not TikTok.
Tic-tac-toe.
Yeah,
Tic-tac-toe. There's something seriously wrong with you. I mean, it's not that hard to tie, right? I just never understood that game.
Well, there's a way to win.
Well, yeah, there's a way to win. You get all 3 in a row, but you got to be playing a moron to win it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know a lot of people that we could beat in that game. Don't get me wrong, but you brought up one of my favorite people online, Annie Agar, and not only because she's easy to look at, she is so funny and so knowledgeable. And like you said, it doesn't matter what you look like. If you can do the job and know what you're talking about, that's all really that matters. But I don't know if you follow her.
I don't.
She is absolutely, like her weekly recap and stuff.
She was one of those people a while ago that, like, I've seen a lot of these things happen, and it's not like, I don't want to tear a labor and patting myself on the back, but like, I was doing mostly stage work and some radio bits when my best buddy from college, I went to school in New York University and NYC, and I lived down there for a long time. You fucking traitor. So it's okay, people. You don't have to live in Massachusetts or within the confines of 495 to love your Boston and all things masshole. I would just like to gently remind everyone. Yeah, shut up. So, I got lucky that I was, my buddy suggested when Google bought YouTube in 2006, he's like, "Hey, let's take that Fitzy character thing that you do at stand up and on your variety show, and let's just do a weekly rant. Go stand in front of a wall or a curtain or a backdrop for 10, 15, 20 minutes, rant and rave. I'll chop it up into 3 minutes and we'll put it out." And within 3 months, it popped. It just, people found it. And it was great. And there weren't a lot of people doing that sort of like rapid cut, stream of consciousness, like metatextual, like, like back when that was the first thing I did before the videos morphed into the Shit Pats Fans Say series and a bunch of other things. I was the host of and the peanut gallery for all of my own videos. And it kind of weirded some people out, but I didn't care because I was just doing something I thought would be fun. And so Annie was one of the first people I saw a couple of years ago to sort of like take that format and mutate it a little bit. And so she she became like the person running the board meeting, and then she was all the other people commenting as the teams themselves. And what it's proven is if the content, if the content and the writing is good enough, it's relevant, you don't have to have the fanciest production value. You don't even have to really have, sexy microphones or whatever. It just needs to be funny, topical, and relevant. And she nailed all those bookmarks, and she could have looked like you. She could have looked like Scarlett Johansson. Didn't matter. I think the content spoke, and then the Jessica Rabbit factor added into the equation, I think made her a star. And she turned, and you know what she did? She parlayed it into a TV gig for Bally Sports.
I know, she's done a great job. You keep saying that you could look like you. I hope you're talking to Gino when you say that, not me.
What's wrong with this mug?
I'm not that hard on the eyes. That's all I'm saying.
You are chiseled from Awesome Stone. Gino looks like everybody in front of you at Dunkin' Donuts that forgot their order and then just sits there going, "What the hell is I gonna get?" Hey, guy, you order the same damn thing every day. Hustle up, let's go. Traffic's not slowing down. We don't have a Mirabelli special parting ways to get into town. Let's go.
Gino told the most Gino story on the way up here.
Oh my
Sitting at
God.
a stoplight this morning. You got to tell the story.
Oh my God. I'm sitting at a stoplight. So it's like a T intersection, and the guy coming at us have a right of way, and there's someone stopped over here on the left, and I'm going this way. I want to take a left. So the person coming at me has the right of way and stops. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" I go. And he's like, "Go, no, you go." I'm like, "You have the right of way. You go. I'm not supposed to go." He's like, "Let me go." I'm like, "No, I don't know. I don't want to go, because then if I go and he hits me, it's my fault."
Right. And then he T-bones you. And then you're just like, how did we get to this? Like the guy probably thinks now the guy's like, "Oh, one time I exercised common courtesy on the road and some asshole doesn't want to go because he's afraid of insurance liability." See, lawyers ruin everything.
Well, lawyers are growing up in Salty too, because you got those scumbag friends. Like my uncle's buddy told the story once. He goes, I told the girl to go. God, no, you go ahead. And then I went, and then she smoked me. And I go, "Well, what did you tell the judge?" She goes, "Oh, no, I was scratching my nose. I didn't tell her to go. I had the right of way."
Jesus.
I just love the fact that someone's trying to do something nice for you and you get pissed off. You're like, "Fuck,
Well, I'm not supposed to go.
I just love that. That's so Boston.
It's the most Boston thing ever.
Yes.
Like the only thing that could have made that more Boston was eventually if she got mad, opened the window, and then just like lobbed a 32-ounce, Mary Lou's coffee at you, opened the other window and flicked like a lit parliament at you.
It's like you see those that Instagram. What's the guy, like bean shooter or something? And he always goes by someone that's in an accident. He goes, "Hey, you can't park there." My buddy sent me the clip, said, "Hey, this reminded me of you. We're in an accident. Fuck you. Fuck you."
The first time I saw one of those, I swear, I think it was Jerry Thornton, our good friend, recent
Recent guest.
Chirping Zebras guest, right? Excuse me. I forgot. I am now contractually obligated. The living legend that is Jerry Thornton.
Old Balls Thornton, as he likes to be.
Old Balls,
to.
exactly. Exactly. Waylon Smithers Thornton, as he's known in many other circles. So I think it was Jerry who quote tweeted one of those videos and said, "This should be like the next tourism video for Massachusetts."
100%. It's so perfect.
I like that woman in that one particular one. It rolls down the window and he yells like, "Hey, you can't park here." This one woman turns around. She's easily 2.5 bills. Hasn't missed a meal at the 99 since 1999. "Hey, fuck you! Hey, you wearing that?"
Then he throws a coffee at her.
That guy is hilarious.
Oh, it's so good.
Hey, Riley, I'm not sure, Gino, how many times you guys like go on the road, meet people from out of town, whatever.
Okay.
Like, I've been very fortunate to not only live out of town, but also for a long time, as the FITZY stuff that we did online years ago opened up a lot of doors and windows for me, and then my brother, who has been my shooter and editor for a long time, and other friends I've collaborated with. I got to go on the road for MLB Network for years, doing the Tailgate Show for CBS Sports Network, working for ESPN, a bunch of other, networks that either are or soon will go out of business. But, I've had a chance to engage with, talk to people, at length from Michigan, Missouri, Iowa, Arkansas, Alabama, places that are amazing where you go there and you get that sort of like Doc Hollywood charm where you're there for a couple of days and you're like, man, it must be awesome living here. I could do this. I could eat this way or talk this way or like, no, I couldn't. Here's the thing, because I'm just so addicted to the attitude, the nonsense, the arrogance, the intelligence, the culture, the perspective. Everything about Massachusetts and New England makes it so fascinating, enriching. Like there's never really a dull moment. Like we're always, I don't know what it is. Like anytime I ever leave there, as much as I enjoy it somewhere else, or if we just take a vacation and go someplace sunny, that itch to just sort of like be back in the mass whole game, be back in New England, like the epicenter of culture, development, nonsense and genius just always scratches at me. Like I'm so glad I'm from there, and it's always going to be a part of my life.
I agree with that sentiment. Like I lived in Omaha, Nebraska for a season. I actually lived out in California for a hockey season too. And it was just like, you see all the different cultures. And you're like, oh, I can live here. It's nice, but there's nothing like being in Boston and just, some beeping at you, flipping you off. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm home. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've with refereeing and we've traveled all over, the country, right? And I was always fascinated with down south, the people are genuinely nice. And I remember being at a gas station in Atlanta, and the guy noticed my mass plate. He was originally from New York, he ran the railroad, Amtrak, from Boston to New York. So he strikes up a conversation with me, and 20 minutes later, we're still talking. I'm like, where would that happen? Like if I pulled into a gas station in like Quincy and started talking to someone, they'd be like, get the fuck away from me, you weirdo. Right? That's what I was always fascinated with. And then you go into a Blimpie or a Subway and you want your freaking sandwich and you want to be in your car in 2 minutes. Next thing you know, you're in there for 20 minutes having a conversation with the guy making your sandwich. And when you have the time, you don't mind. And you realize, wow, this is the rest of the country isn't fucked like we are, in that, like when someone does something nice, we get pissed off.
Yeah. Like,
right. Me, like you start talking to them outside a gas station. They're like, hey, fucko, you want people to hear you? Start a podcast or a blog. Get the fuck out of the way, would you?
It's like the first time I walked into the Target out in Omaha, and like the lady's like, oh, can I help you find anything? I'm like, no, get away from me. I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, I don't need your help. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, I grew up around Zayre's, Caldor, Ames, and Bradley's. I know my way around a fucking department store. Thank you.
Yeah. Aisle 6.
This isn't my first retail rodeo, Charlene. Thank you. Well, but you're right. Riley, you're right. Like it's amazing. Like from the years I did the Tailgate Show for CBS, like I would just walk around with a camera and a microphone, and the people that would just invite us in. Like I remember at Michigan State, everything was a casserole. Everything was a beer and a casserole, and sit down and we'll talk. And they got plenty of time. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. They don't have the traffic. They don't have the narrow winding roads. They don't have all the bullshit and the weird weather. They're awesome. Down south, come on in here, get you something. You fixing to eat with like, and it's barbecue, or you're gonna have like some sort of salad or slaw that just looks like it's got 10,000 calories a bite, but it's the best something you've ever had. It's great. It's for us, like I need to go do that to remind myself that there's another way to live. It reminds me how much I appreciate where I'm from, but it is good. Like, chicken soup, slow cooked barbecue, or like, what was one of the best things I ever had that they did out in Missouri or Kansas City. It was gas station breakfast pizza. So I went into this guy had at this tailgate. They just took a huge thing, and this will cure any hangover anyone ever has. Took a huge thing of biscuit dough, right? Rolled it out into a circle. Sausage gravy, cheddar cheese, garlic powder, sausage crumbles, and then I think a little Rotel, and baked it in a pizza oven. And it came, oh my God. And that's just how these people, you understand also why, like, you can't get around them and their, Lark scooters at Disney World, but damn, it's good. It's good. It's good eating, kid.
Well, I've been to 45 of the 50 states, and there's only two places I would actually consider moving. San Diego is one. Just beautiful, Coronado, the whole ball of wax. And Charleston, South Carolina. Because for me, and I don't know what it's like now, this was, what, 20 years ago?
Charleston's awesome.
It was like a mini Boston. It
Mm.
had neighborhoods, it had character, it had different
Cobblestones.
personalities, cobblestones. It was just a really cool place. Those are the only two, and like I said, I've been a lot of places. Those are the only two places I'd actually consider moving. Aruba, I'd move in a second, but they won't let you stay more than 6 months. So, but yeah, those,
you know,
those are the only two places.
During the pandemic, I spent a lot of time. We had a family friend who wasn't using their house. And so my kids were doing the remote learning in Zoom, and my wife was teaching music classes online since all the classrooms were shut down in the Northeast, right? So, and I was doing radio shows wherever I wanted to with my little home broadcast device. So we spent 3 months in Naples, Florida. I got to tell you,
Good move.
I was, oh my God, I was convinced. I was like, let's not leave. Let's stay, like, because there's a ton of expatriated massholeries. Like, so you can go, like, one of the best sports bars for Boston sports fans in the country is called the Foxborough Sports Tavern. It's in Naples,
I've been there.
Florida.
Yeah, I've been there.
It's
Yep.
awesome. It's like
I was there
you
this
walk
summer.
in, yeah, it's like, Gino, you walk in and it's like, holy shit, I'm at the Fours.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
unreal.
and the menu's the exact same, and the food's great. The owner's
Yep.
from up this way. He just chose sunshine and happiness as opposed to, like, traffic and misery, and it's great. There's also a ton of New Yorkers and Philadelphia people, so the pizza you get down there is great. You can get real bagels, real cheese, but at the same time, it's sunny all year round. It's a nice place. I was finally convinced. Like, I've always scoffed at the notion of, like, Florida and the Cape, the winter bird life. That was the one a couple of years ago. I finally saw it through the matrix. I was like, now I get it. Now I know why people do this.
Now, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some sports here. One thing I'd like to get your take on, because we are zebras, right?
Mhm.
Your take on refereeing, and and not specific to hockey or to any sport, but what is because everyone gets frustrated, or everyone has a take on refereeing. What's your take on refereeing?
I have two presiding theories or overriding feelings about refereeing in general. One, we prefer when you swallow the whistle as opposed to when you feel like you need to call every single thing to the letter of the law or the rule book. Like, let them play. The only way we learn how to do anything is by doing it. And if we need to, teach them up, coach them up, correct the mistakes, call them out for it. Okay, I understand. But I would rather it be more egregious than not, because, and this is number two, nobody paid to see you. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing worse. Now, look, the New England Patriots, their offensive line committed 8 penalties in the first half alone of the final pretend season game just a few weeks ago in Washington. So I'm glad those get called, because they need to clean that shit up in Isle Skarnecchia and put a respectable 5 out there. Otherwise, they're going to get Brissett, Milton, May, Zappy, and anybody else that would ever, strap them up and be brave enough to get behind that line killed. But yeah, those are my two. Like, it can be a thankless job. I understand. It can, whoever says, like, man, I love that ref, he was great. Aside from people loving Ed Hockley for, being the gun show, or that famous referee from 30, 40 years ago in the viral clip from either Cincinnati or Cleveland, was like, what I forget what the call was. Unsportsmanlike conduct. He was giving him the business on the ground. Like, either, be clever and give me a reason to want to hear from you. Otherwise, I think fans, when it comes to refs, like, less is more. So
Yes.
I prefer when they swallow the whistle and let him play and let a few of the smaller things go in the grand scheme of the game, Riley. But also, I didn't pay to see you. So, if you got to make a call, make the call, get in, get out, and let's get back to the game.
No, I love it. I mean, that's what we try to tell all our young guys. I mean, you mentioned, like, your whole career, like, you grinded, you started at the bottom and you worked your way up. You never said no. And that's the problem nowadays. All these kids, they want to get there yesterday, and nobody wants to take that extra assignment. Nobody wants to go do that extra game just to get themselves better and ready. And that always stems from, that once you're doing all that stuff, then you learn how to call the good ones, let the ones go, and you can feel the game a hell of a lot better by all the experience you have. And if you're not doing those grunty, shitty hockey games, you're not going to be able to filter that out. So when you get to those big stages, you might make 2 or 3 calls, but in 2 of them might suck and change the momentum of the game, and then the whole perspective of refereeing, because you weren't ready, you didn't grind, and you didn't start, have that foundation under your belt before you got to where you need to be. And I like that's a big thing in sports, I think, in general right now. Everybody in our society, everybody wants everything yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, the on-demand immediacy society. Like, look, it's great that we have the world's most popular camera / handheld computer in our pocket that can tell us anything or do anything for us now in the age of AI on a moment's notice. That's great if you need it, but I prefer not to rely on it.
Right.
Because I don't want to get, I'm not Tom Brady doing 1,000 different mental acuity exercises every day, reading the 4 agreements and eating space mushrooms for dinner. But like the same time, I don't want to get soft.
I love that book. That's my
the $200
Bible.
freaking cookbook with his face on it. What a load of shit.
No, not that one. The 4 Agreements is my Bible too.
Oh, the 4 Agreements is great. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And the rule number 1 is never I take a lot of online criticism still. You hack, you suck. I hate you on the radio. Your videos aren't funny. The thing, it's fine. Just, I don't respond. I don't like to bar stool it, if you will. I don't want to get down there in the mud. I'm not going to fight with you. That's one of those agreements. I'm not giving you my power. I'm not letting you know that what you did upset me or that I give a shit. Like I'm probably more sensitive than I should be, a little fragile. And, it's half the time, I'm exhausted because of the life I lead, the miles I travel, how hard I grind, and the effort I need to put into raising 2 boys in this world. But no, you don't get that you chirpy guy with 317 followers on Twitter who's never written a nice thing about anybody. When I do a cursory check of your feed, I've worked hard to get my following. I've worked hard to get my job. I've put way more positive into the world today than you've ever put into your lifetime. So you don't get that back from me. And no,
they shouldn't.
Not at all. But as far as what you're saying, Gino, taking those extra games, working those extra reps, we should always be working to get better. You could be Maniscalco. You could be, Hannah Berner, who I used to know years ago in the city, whose star has taken off. And it's because she did reps and she worked her ass off. And she was in our NFL fan therapy series for 2 years as the Giants fan.
Love that series.
Yeah. Awesome. She's great. You can be any one of these headliners, these, multi-million-dollar talents. You should still be going to open mics. You should still be working weird rooms like we did a few months ago together, Riley. You need to say yes to a lot of these things. What's the most fun I've had this year? This is crazy, but the most fun I've had as a performer, an entertainment entity, or a broadcaster was years ago during the pandemic. I met this guy. This story sounds fun, Fitzy. We'll do this one on Chirping Zebras After Dark. All right. Just a family guy, recognized my voice from the radio, had seen the videos before. We got to talking. It was at this lakeside cottage retreat in New Hampshire during the pandemic. Became buddies that day, drank a bunch of beers, exchanged numbers. Hey, we'll get it. Maybe we should hang out again sometime, whatever. We've kept in touch. And one of the things he does is he's a coach of this semi-pro football league that's got 9 teams in it. That must be fun to schedule. And I think it's called the NFL, New England Football League or something. And he's been asking me for a long time, come to a game. We'd love to have you. Maybe you could come by one time and call a game for us. So back in June, they gave me pizza money and a cooler full of beers. And they gave me a microphone inside the box. And there were 200 people in the stands on a Saturday night. And they were just have fun with it. Make it your own,
Perfect. Call
call the game, first down, whatever, timeout, keep the fans entertained. And so I kind of did, half Jason Bateman from Dodgeball, just sort of out of my mind, a little Ron Burgundy, a little Fitzy GFY, and a little Nick Stevens all blended in together. And afterwards, it was probably the longest line of people that were just I never heard of you before, but this was awesome. Thank you. This was so fun. You kept us entertained. The team, it was in Middleborough. The Middleborough Cobras defeated the Glens Falls Yellow Jackets or something. And now, of course, it's the Triple E virus is defeating Middleborough, but you know, hopefully everything works out for them. But it like I could have sat home on Saturday night, had pizza with my kids, probably watched a movie, drank a few beers, hung out with my wife like I should every now and again. But this sounded fun. And I made a bunch of new friends, a bunch of new fans, and got some reps. And just like I felt good about myself afterwards because a
Right.
couple people said my Saturday night was better because you were here. So thank you for that. Like
Oh, that's friggin' awesome.
That's the best feeling in the world.
100%.
And that's why you do it right there. That's friggin' awesome. Good for you.
Now, I want to get your take on instant replays because we've talked about this a lot, and as referees, we have to deal with it now. Back in the day when we were, when we were coming up, there was no instant replay, but now it's a thing and it's everywhere. What's your take on it?
You know, I'm gonna side with the greatest football coach of all time, the man you can now literally see everywhere that you stream, watch, or listen to something. The guy that hated talking for a living, talking while he coached for a living is now not doing so much coaching and won't stop talking. Bill Belichick. And
On
I
Instagram now.
yeah,
On Instagram now.
yeah, he's literally on it. He's on InstaFace. He's on Underball. He's on all these, wherever you want to find him, that Belichick is there with the same opinion in the same, shitty pinstripe Brook Brothers shirt. But God love him, man. He's a legend. Must be exhausting having to always be the one who rents a car when you go on vacation with your girlfriend because she's not old enough to rent one, but that's fine. Hashtag jealous. So, Belichick's thing was like, look, let's either let's make everything reviewable or nothing at all.
Agreed.
So a penalty, the pylon, this play, that play, calls, targeting, ejections, everything should be, and I'm with him. If you're going to open up Pandora's box, if you're going to squeeze that toothpaste out of the tube and the genie's out of the bottle, you either let it all the way out. Like you don't let out half a fart. You either just let it rip and own it, or don't in the first place. And if you need to, excuse yourself. But I would rather just okay, so holding or pass interference, or like I said, targeting or tripping or it should all be reviewable or nothing at all. Because if you're going to stop the game and drag it down, then I feel like you should be able to make it as fair, as level a playing field and as fair as possible. But this brings up something I want to ask you on the very same front. You two hockey mavens. Tell me, because this has been a thing in football now as well. So now they're gonna put lasers across the pylons. This will be probably the last year that the chain gang is used to physically mark first downs in the NFL. They're gonna go to sky cams and drones that are gonna mark down to the artificially intelligent inch where things go. And they're talking about, replacing umpires with robo-umps and AI in baseball as well. How do you guys feel? I hate it. If you take the human element out, then you may as well just let automatons play in the first place.
Agreed. The human element makes it. Like the players make mistakes, referees make mistakes, and you try to minimize it as players and as officials. It's all part of the game. That's why you play sports. It's not a perfection. Don't try to make it perfect. It's too much one way. I like the human element of it.
I don't think you can have a machine do what humans do, and they all come out in the wash, right? You miss one down here, you miss one down there. I don't know about the laser across the goal line. We've talked about it with the laser and the net, and having the puck have some type of transponder or something so that if it goes all the way over, a bell goes off or,
right,
people dance or whatever. And it's definite that the puck went in the net or not. That's helping the human that's out there, not taking his job from him. You know what I mean? But I agree. And it's funny, one of our cohorts, Greg Murphy, who was on a few episodes ago,
love Murph.
he said the same thing. Belichick said everything or nothing, and I agree too. You can't just look at one thing and not the other, especially when the other is probably affecting the game more than the one you can review. So,
yeah, no, there will be instances where refs make egregiously terrible calls that we have to live with. It gives us something to talk about. Hopefully it doesn't deprive you of a title, an honor, a glory, or achievement. I forget the name. think it was Tim something or other, the baseball ump who 12, 13, I think it was like 13 years ago. Remember Armando Galaraga was pitching a perfect game.
Yes,
And
Jim Joyce. Yep.
Jim Joyce, thank you. He was a great umpire, actually, who just had
Unreal.
and he blew that call by a good footstep. He was in the wrong angle, made the wrong call, and had to own it. And then the next night was in tears, because he got to see it afterwards. And, that's brutal. You hate to think that he's going to have to live with that. But yeah, I mean, look, aside from the fact that there isn't the plaque that says Armando Galaraga threw a perfect game, like we all know he threw a perfect game. It's okay. It's okay. Shit's going to happen. You're going to make those mistakes along the way. But, I do go back and forth a little bit on, like in soccer. Okay. Football. Yeah. It's the game. It's football with an F and a U. They have that VAR or whatever they call it. So that like, if the soccer ball, like they can go back and look at it, if it just even crosses the goal line a little bit, oh, that's a goal. Like, see, that's the thing. Like, if it's a goal, it's a goal. Like I remember the Pats lost a game in 2012 where they had all the replacement referees in, and the Ravens kicked a field goal at the end of the game that we all saw clearly missed. And on replay, you saw like the majority of the ball missed and went over the goalpost, but the refs, who were replacement level and stupid and not good at their jobs, called it a field goal and ran off the field, and there was no replay. And I think that's where Belichick decided, let me review everything or get the fuck out of here. It sucks when that happens, but yeah, I mean, look, here we are still chewing. It's still fun to chew over years later,
Right.
as opposed to just letting machines, and shit from, real genius decide how our sports fate would go.
And you got to think too, machines get shit wrong too, or they go down and, you lose power. And now what do? You have to have refs in the stands waiting in case the machine goes down.
Right.
I mean, aside from taking people's jobs too, that's the other piece of this. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you saw us try to get the mics to go, it's not this thing.
Yeah. Sometimes they won't even work on something you guys have done dozens of times, or sometimes they become sentient and aware and ask if you know Sarah Connor and then enslave humanity. So we'll see.
There you go.
I love them movies. I know you got to run. But one quick prediction for the Pats this year. What's your take on this season? Drake May not playing, and do we have more than 2 wins?
Yes. Drake May plays. I think the game that the fans would love to see him play in the most would be week 5, because that'll let Jacoby take the slings and arrows of that brutal first 4 games. Dealing with the three road games, all teams that could very well be playoff teams as well. It's a cruel world that we live in, that the Patriots continue to have to pay for the double dynastic run by having arguably the worst roster in the NFL play the toughest schedule, but the Patriots do have the toughest schedule. Stop me if you've heard this before. It is what it is. But I think what you're going to have at the end of the season, a best case scenario, is a 5-12 team that's grit and balls, doesn't get blown out any given week, plays as hard as the Kyle Duggars and the Jabril, I always call them Julius Peppers, Jabril Peppers, and the other grinders of that, hardworking, reasonably compensated Patriots middle class will allow. And if at the end of the season, we know Mayo can hold his own as coach, Drake May is the future under center for the Patriots, and we have a couple of playmakers in your Jalen Polks or maybe your Keyshawn Booties or Javon Baker, if he doesn't shit the career bed by going to Instagram Live one more time and criticizing the Mass State Police. Bad idea. Party of one. Your table's ready. Just show me that we have a true north. Show me we're going in the right direction, because it's unfortunate they lost Barmore, because that kid's an absolute game wrecker.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Force of nature on the line, but not signing Ridley, not trading for Ayuk, letting Judon go. They're stacking picks for the future. They're telling you, look, we have the most free agency money next year. We got the most salary cap room. We got a shitload of picks again. We're going to basically, here's another movie reference. Right now, the Patriots front office and the coaches are like the Joker in The Dark Knight. They're just snapping pool sticks, handing them out to people and just saying, you guys figure this out. Whoever lives, let us know, and we'll figure out. You guys can come play for us next year, and we'll spend some money on the rest of the guys. So fight it out, make us proud, give us a reason to get excited for next year. That's all we can ask for. And if any of the softies out there in Pat's Nation get upset about that, you should probably have a steamer trunk or an entire closet full of Super Bowl swag that you can go cry yourself to sleep on every Sunday night. Okay.
Love it.
Right. Right. Brady or Belichick?
Brady.
Or both.
Brady. I mean, no, you needed the two of them.
Right.
You need,
Yeah.
yeah, you absolutely needed the, you absolutely needed the two of them. They were both exquisite psychopaths and absolutely genius competitive MFers. But if I had to choose one at the time when Brady left, you know, hey, we were left with the one parent who didn't leave the house. And so that's the one we sided with. But now once we've all gone off to college ourselves and we took a moment to look at the relationship, well, mom, Belichick brought a lot to the table. Cool dad, Brady, he was something else.
Yeah.
I mean, that was cool. You got to host his thing at Patriots with Mike. That was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome doing the Middleborough Cobras game. It was also, I kind of left that one out. It was kind of awesome to stand on stage and for 2 hours welcome people into the celebration of the greatest quarterback, New England Patriot, and athlete in the history of Boston. That was awesome. Doing it with your brother-in-law on stage, one of my best buddies, one of my absolute favorites, Mike Dussault from Patriots.com. Somebody I made friends with, like Murph and Jerry Thornton and so many other people I hold near and dear in my inner emotional circle. I've met through comedy and Patriots fandom and social media. And I mean, to say either like the organization has fallen so far, they'll let me be on center field, at the 50-yard line playing tic-tac-toe for halftime, or MC Tom Brady night.
That's pretty cool.
Listen, kids, keep working hard. Dreams do come true. And if not, there's plenty of beer in the fridge. So go fuck yourselves. All right.
I love it.
I love it. I had a guy online. I said, with Jerry Thornton, I said, Brady's the best player to ever play. If you say quarterback, fine, but not the best player ever. And my response was, I said, you know what? Okay, fine, but I'll make the argument. He's won more Super Bowls than any other athlete in the history of that league. End of story. So
he played the toughest position better than anyone else did. And while Peyton Manning, who deserves his flowers and due deference in Pat's Nation, as much as people like to clown on him for the rivalry and being Eli's brother, Peyton walked in terms of changing the position so Brady could run and leave the quarterback position different forever and ever and ever. And he's another great example of, he told you during his epic 20-minute speech that every coach in any sport should always show to their players forever and ever. Hard work is the answer. He wasn't the most gifted. He wasn't the tallest, the fastest, the strongest. He just worked harder than everyone else. That's how you get shit done.
Love it. I love it.
Awesome.
I know you have to run. We want to appreciate you coming on, Fitzy. It's been
Fitzy,
awesome.
thank you.
We'll have to do it again when we're not locked down on time.
Yeah, listen, I'd prefer we get to do it in person. So thank you guys for hooking it up so I could do it from my white collar prison down here in Connecticut. And B, it was a blast. Thank you. And it's not that I just want to sit around, toot my horn and talk about all the things that I probably would have on a Wikipedia page if I wasn't too lazy to create it or pay someone to do it. But, if you ever, any given day, if you can inspire someone else to try to do something that one day they could turn around and say, hey, I saw you on that show, or I heard you on that pod, or I met you at the stadium and you inspired me to do something, then this wasn't a waste of time after all. So thanks, boys.
Never waste
Thank you,
time
man.
with you, Fitzy. We love you, man.
I love you, pal. You guys do the best. Thank you. I'll see you guys soon. All right. Go Pats.
All right.
All right.
Go Pats.
Nick Fitzy Stevens. How great is he?
Oh, he's the best.
Just an awesome guy and really has a great perspective on not only life, but what is important in life. He does 17 different things, but you enjoy every one of them,
Like I'll tell you, like the shit Pats fans say, like I can't get enough of those. Like I just howl laughing, and he films most of them right in my neighborhood, right? Like the local the one of the diners is closed, but the Cameo in Weymouth, he always walks by there, and they just like all that kind of stuff. Like it just like you said, it's like you're home in Boston. It's just like that Boston thing, and you got so much pride. I have so much pride being from here, and like he just like kind of entertains it and brings that sports energy out and makes it fun and entertaining.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's so true that, we're weird people, Boston, right? We talk funny. I get it, whatever. But I don't think there's another place that has that, because I always say we're really a big town, we're a little city, right? And we just kind of, I don't know, it's just a thing we grew up with. That a lot of people around the country, people from New York, I'm sure, but like other places, Midwest, they just don't get it.
No,
And it's not a knock on them. You know, if you're watching in Iowa, we're not fucking with you. It's just a thing.
Different, yeah.
That's all. And it's just a really cool thing. And when you see a guy like that parlay it into a character.
Right.
And then makes this whole, basically this conglomerate, I mean, really, or this business or this corporation around this character based on everyone has an Uncle FITZY, right? Everyone has that guy that's just, you know, you
And he
love
got-
him and you want to smack him. You know what I
Right.
mean?
But like he gets himself right where he wants to be, right where he should be, right? You know, and he does a hell of a job at it. Like as much as like he even pokes fun at himself, right? Like, but like people love him. It's entertaining. And he's very, 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 very funny. So
But we were fortunate to get him. And also I love the fact that he's not a hockey guy, right? Not a referee, not a hockey guy. But brings a good perspective to what we're trying to do.
Right.
You know?
entertain, make, you know, like I try to like someone I talked to today, they were like, hey, I've been listening to your podcast. It's very entertaining and, you know, appreciate it. Just keep it coming. And like he said, like that's what the whole purpose of this is, just to make refereeing light, make it fun, tell some good stories, and just hopefully put somebody in a good mood, either going to a game or coming from a game. Because like, I don't know how many times you get in the car and you're like, man, I really don't feel like friggin' working tonight. And then you put something funny on. Like I used to find like inspirational, like motivation speakers, or I'd put Bill Burr on, or whatever the case may be, to get me out of that funk. And like, okay, now I'm in a good mood and I can go do this game tonight.
Yep.
And, you know, that's what I hope this podcast does. Maybe, you know, kind of flip someone's mood around and, you know, maybe change the way they approach things too, like approach their work ethics every day, no matter what it is, not just hockey, in life. So, I mean,
And maybe not yell, you suck at a ref every 2 seconds. Although I don't know, that's not going to go away.
and sometimes we do suck, and it's okay to yell because you paid your $350 up with the nosebleed, so you can yell that.
And there's plenty of refs, as we know, especially in the professional leagues.
Right.
You know, and we don't want to mention any names, but the NHL, there's plenty of refs that don't belong there. I mean, let's be honest. Some of them really suck, and it's frustrating. But you know, now bringing up the NHL, we do have to address what happened this past week.
Yes.
With Johnny and Matt Gaudreau. You know, a horrible tragedy.
Awful.
And just two really good guys, right?
Unreal kids, like super, super, super nice kids. Just, you know, great teammates, great fathers, great, you know, the whole thing. It just, and the event, you know, they're down there celebrating the sister's wedding for the weekend. It just, everything just, it's heart wrenching, to say the least. I mean, and the hockey community, I gotta say, is probably the best community out there. You couldn't throw a social media thing on without, you know, a picture or a memorial or something with them, and everybody was affected by it.
Yeah, they have the GoFundMe page for Matt, who didn't, you know, play in the NHL for years and have the contracts that Johnny had. And I think they were looking to raise like 10 grand and then already up over like 450,000. I mean, by the time people see this, it might even be bigger. But that's the kind of, you know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, like you said, the hockey community just comes together. And it's a reminder that, man, tomorrow's not guaranteed to any of us.
No.
You know, like today is all we have and we got to make the best of it, you know, because it's a freak accident, right? And it's a bad decision by the drunk driver, right? And all of a sudden now, the whole, not only their lives and their families' lives, but you're talking about a whole, you know, you have the Columbus Blue Jackets, you have the NHL, you have it's just amazing how that ripple affects so many things and so many people. It's just a complete tragedy. It really is.
Yep.
And, you know, unfortunately, that's part of, you know, our trip on this rock for how many of years we travel on it.
Right.
You know, shit happens. But on a lighter note, last week's podcast with Terry Koharski.
Yes.
I mean, just a complete highlight
you know, and I don't mean to recap, but the playing golf that day, you know, we showed the highlight package.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than playing with a guy like Coho, you know?
The one line is just the whole thing, and just spending time with them is just awesome. You know, like you talk about a guy that's done it the right way for so long, and you know, his success in the American Hockey League and all that. Like, he's been a mentor for so many young officials and showing people how to do it the right way on and off the ice. Like, you know, like I mentioned on the podcast, just like something simple as, he's always picking up the towels, picking up the trash in the room, making sure everything's clean, tipping making sure they're taking care of the skate guy, and just make sure the rookies bring the beer and just, it's all that kind of stuff, right? But like, and then you see him on the ice, like the respect that guy got on the ice is absolutely incredible, and it's because it was earned. It wasn't like he just showed up there and did it and said, "Oh, hey, I'm Terry Kohosky, you don't fuck with me." It's like, no, he had to earn that. He had to fight it hard for a lot of years to get that respect. And when I was in pro hockey, like my first couple of years, like nobody knows who you are. Like, you might see a team a handful of times, whatever, and then you start to get to know the people. And after 2 or 3 years, the trust begins. And, you saw that with him right off the hop, working with him the first time. And, you talk about people you look up to and emulate, like, that's what I want to be. I want to be that guy where you step on the ice and everybody goes, "Don't fuck with him tonight," or you're gonna get it, And that's what everybody should strive for when you step on the ice. And it's called laying the hammer, doing what's right, and don't take shit from anybody.
I love it. And his brother Don,
Yes.
he's planning on coming on sometime in November, December.
And Jamie, his nephew, Don's son, was supposed to come up, but they, travel plans, family, kids, the whole thing, midweek, kind of tough. But we'll definitely get Jamie on at some point.
100%. 100%. We have some cool stuff happening coming up that we'd like to let everyone know about.
Absolutely.
On Sunday, the 15th, September 15th, we're going to be at the Bowl with the Bruin event. I'm a celebrity. I don't know if you know that. For the Bowl with the Bruin. People are like, who are you again? I know, I haven't heard of me either.
I'm the comedian that tells dick jokes in the corner.
Well, pretty much. But we're gonna be at that. I'm gonna be bowling with people, but we're gonna be set up for an hour when the guys are checking in. We're gonna talk to all the alumni and the celebrities that come in.
It's gotta be awesome.
It's gonna be
So
really cool.
what time's the bowl actually kick off? Like noon?
So 10 to 11 is the check-in. 11 o'clock is like the opening kind of ceremony thing. Our buddy Todd Angeli will sing the national anthem,
Nice.
do the introduction, the whole thing. And then the bowling usually gets going around 11:30, 11:45. We bowl for so long or whatever. And then, there's the awards thing afterward. It's a great day. It's at Wamaset Lanes up in Tewksbury.
Tewksbury, yeah.
And it's a fantastic event. I've been fortunate enough to do it 3 times. And it's just so much fun. And there's, and they raise money for a great cause. The
That's
Boston
awesome.
Bruins Foundation, and they give money to all the different charities, including the Warrior for Life Fund.
Nice.
That we had Captain Crowley on before. So that's a cool event we're going to be doing on the 15th. And then October 8th.
Bruins home opener, right?
Yeah, we're going to do a Bruins.
No, not their home, the watch party.
The watch party for the opening game.
Opening game, yes.
Opening game, October 8th at the Scoreboard. We're going to have Todd Angeli's putting together a watch party. We're going to do a live taping of the podcast. And it's going to be absolutely outstanding. We're going to have a good number of ex-Bruins there as well.
I hope the gnome lady shows up.
The gnome lady might have a zebra gnome. We'll have to reach out and see, maybe that's the night we get presented our zebra gnome.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
We'll chat. I'll have to reach out to the gnome lady and see if we have our zebra gnome. But we're gonna be there. We'll do the podcast. We'll be there all night. I might do some comedy in between periods. You never know. It's gonna be a blast. So October 8th at the Scoreboard. Our buddy Chris Playhigh from Wicked Funny Comedy in North Andover, CFP Productions, will be CPF Productions. I always mess that up. Is putting it together with Todd. So October 8th will be at the Scoreboard, and September 15th will be at Wamaset Lanes for Bowl with the Bruin event. So if you're around and you want to come out and say hi, we'll have merch, and we can talk hockey, talk the upcoming season. I saw a funny thing. Charlie McAvoy posted something that said he's now the smallest defenseman on the Boston Bruins.
Really?
Yeah, they got big. They got real big.
They needed to get big because they got
Yes.
pushed around. You see the playoffs, like you need toughness in front of the net. Like I love Grizz, love him, awesome hockey player.
Awesome.
But man, did he got beat up in the playoffs.
Yeah. And Lindholm, you know how I feel about Lindholm, the old Lindholm, not the new one,
Yes.
not the center. But when Charlie McAvoy is your smallest defenseman, I like our chances.
Yep.
Because they're gonna make people pay. It's gonna be
This
like
kid-
the bad Bruins.
This kid, Lori, like he is gonna come out, like you're gonna see a stud, in the making coming out this season. Like the skill and the puck handling and the skating this kid has and the vision, it's incredible. I remember him at Ohio State, I reffed him, and just some of the stuff, like he would take the puck and he would be on the blue line, and next thing you know, he's zipping around everybody and then putting the puck in the back of the net. And I was like, who's this kid?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, he's a Brewers draft pick. How about that?
And what's cool is his dad, Dave Lori,
Yep.
was the coach of the Sioux City Musketeers when I was out in the USHL back 1,000 years ago.
Right?
And you also had him.
Yeah.
On the bench, and it's kind of cool that kind of full circle.
Right.
You ran into him at the Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the Bruins. We'll talk more about that maybe next week and the week after as the season really starts to amp up. We'll definitely talk about it on the 8th. But yeah, I like what's going to happen this winter with the Bruins.
I do too.
And I
look
love
at-
Fitzy's take on the Patriots. I do. Give us 5 wins.
Give us five.
Give us hope.
Give us 5 wins and give us a couple of big wins. Like beat a couple of playoff teams, beat 1 or 2 playoff teams, be competitive, be in games, don't get blown out, right? And you want to see signs of something brewing for next season. Like, oh, okay, here's our pieces we're missing. We need to fill in offensive line, obviously, right? That's their biggest weakness. And then all the other stuff they could fill in, and you could trial and error it all season long. Yes, they got 2 rookies on there. Who knows who's gonna pan out in week 6? They might figure it out, and then okay, we're locked in there. Now let's move on to something else.
Yep. I like Drake May. I think the kid's the real deal.
Yeah,
And, time will
Mike,
tell.
my brother-in-law Mike said like the ball coming out, it comes out hard, and that's what you want to see. You want to see quarterback with an arm, and we can figure all that other kind of stuff out. All his mechanics. I mean, he's a rookie. Like let him develop.
Yep.
And I do want to see him play this year.
Yeah. I think Fitzy has it right. Let Jacoby get beat up for 4 games and then let
Yep.
May come in when it's a little safer.
I have a feeling the way the offensive line is, he might be in a little earlier. Jacoby might not last.
He might not. It's true. He might get hurt again, like he has in the past.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Well, it's been a lot of fun, this one.
Yeah, this was awesome. I mean, Fitzy, like huge fan of him. Like I'll tell you, like the Jerry Thornton one, after I got home, and I said to my wife, I'm like, I never pictured in a million years that I'd be talking football with Jerry Thornton and reminiscing about one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. And I got the stupid shirt on and my brother, the whole thing, right? And here we are just like shooting the shit with Jerry Thornton. I'm like, how cool is that? And I got more texts from like people, like my buddies, like, dude, I've been reading this shit for years. Like, he's awesome. And like, you landed him. Like, it's like that kind of stuff is what makes this thing pretty cool what we're doing. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
We just got to remind guests when they're in studio not to wear green shirts.
Yes. You'll be we had a glowing Jerry.
Jerry at times was a little funky looking, but that's okay. I had someone text me, "What's up with Jerry's shirt? Is there something going on?" I go, "It was green." They're like, "Oh, okay." But
He wore a glowing bird
it
shirt.
was a great shirt. It was
It was
a bird
unreal
shirt,
shirt.
but it was green. But we live and learn.
Yes.
Right. So that's going to do it. We hit 500 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, we need 500 more.
We need 500 more, but we hit the 500 mark, which is cool.
On the
So
way up, actually.
always subscribe, always on YouTube. Find us on YouTube and all the social medias. Our TikTok blowing up, 4,500 followers.
Let's go.
We got a bunch of views on all our videos, so that's looking up too. So
Always follow all our social medias. We got the Instagram, the TikTok, Facebook. Find us on all of them. And we want to thank AOA Studios for doing such a great job. The guys here are phenomenal. Mike, Z, Cam. Want to thank our social media director, Josh Dolan. And also thank our sponsor, the Referees Grease. Just incredibly supportive, your dad and that company. And without him, I don't know that we would have made episode 29, to be honest.
I don't think so. We gotta get our sponsor deck out there. So I got a
Yes.
list of a bunch of people that we need to start reaching out to. We
Yeah.
just need to execute.
If you're interested in sponsoring, by all means, reach out. And if you want to buy some merch, go to the website, chirpingzebras.com, and just shoot me a text, email.
Or
and
a
I'll-
text.
Or a text, if you have my number, absolutely. And we'll do it that way. So again, like and subscribe, follow us on all the socials. And thanks to Referees Grease and AOA Studios, for Gene Binder Jr., for Gino, Mark Riley, with the Chirping Zebras, and we'll see you next time right here.